Hello everyone, welcome back to this part number 9. So in this one we're gonna continue to build our REST API and doing some of the CRUD kind of controller we miss inside the to-do controller finally. So what I mean by that, it's right now what we can do if we look at our endpoint, it's we can register a user. Don't worry, we're gonna see how to log in a user in the next one. But is this to do here? Here right now, the only thing we do as in our REST API is when a user is registered, so that's why we have this with user, we are able to create a to-do. So just to showing this thing working, first thing I've dropped my database just to make sure then like it's gonna be like you have right now. So the way you do this, it's you just do finally migrate path, you have your migration database here that was from the .env. If you remember, we did that. And also just before this, what I've done, it's source.env. So I've done this migrate drop first, and after that you do up, and that give you a brand new Discord change, a brand new database with nothing inside that. So if I start the server and we go inside Postman, and now here I'm getting if I want to redo, I'm gonna just retake one register. If I want to register, I'm gonna call one Bob with a password and Bob. If I click send, I'm getting my access token right there. So if I want to create a to-do, I need to have this inside my headers, inside the authorization, with here the bearer, with that. After that, here the link is to-dos, and the body here, it's example title, and walk the dog. And now you see it work, complete false, and now if I'm looking in Postico, we get ID 1, title, walk the dog, complete false by default, user ID 1. With the create that and update that, I can say also walk the cat. I know it's not, but you see right there. So this work. And example, if I don't go with a bearer token, I'm getting unitarized and I don't create nothing. So you see, so this thing was working, and this unitarized was working because we did create this inside our user right there. We did create this kind of middleware who was looking for the token. The GWT token was parsing that, checking if it's valid. If it's valid, it kind of inject the current user inside the context right there. And inside our endpoint, we make use of this as the middleware. But now, all can a user can delete and update is to do. So what I'm gonna do, we're gonna start inside the domain file, okay? Here we're gonna kind of just finally think about what we want, what we need, and we're gonna model it right inside the interface, and after that we can just build our code around this interface. So the first thing is I want to have a function in this to-do repo, who is finally the one touching to Postgres, where finally if I give you an ID, who it's an int64, I want to get back either a pointer to a to-do or an error. After that, I also want another function called update, who's gonna get a to-do and gonna return me back another pointer of a to-do or an error. And finally, I want also a delete function, who's gonna receive a to-do and then gonna return me just an error. Okay, so here's gonna be the three functions we need to create. So we're gonna all create that inside the domain, and after that we're gonna think about that for the database layer. So we're gonna start with like kind of the simplest one. So that's gonna be the get by ID. So the domain. So we're gonna add a method to the domain. We're gonna call that get to do sorry, by ID. I'm gonna receive an ID with an int64, and we need to return here a pointer to a to-do or an error. Here, what we're gonna do It's I want to create a function. I mean, it's already what we say inside interface, get by ID like that. So finally here, remember, is the interface. Here, I'm gonna check if we have an error, it's not nil. Okay. After that here, I'm gonna return nil and an error. And else, I'm gonna return todo and nil. That's it. We're gonna change that a bit later, just because we want to know if this is an error because, I mean, the ID is not the right one, or, I mean, if the todo do not exist. After that, we're gonna go right away with the delete one because it's gonna be simpler than the updated one. So delete todo. So the delete todo, take the todo pointer and return an error. Really simple one. This one gonna just use the db todo repo delete function we just create. If we have an error is not nil, we're gonna return it, else we're gonna return nil. And remember why what I said in the last video or some of other video, it's I do this because maybe later you want to add some logs, like here having like a logger, something like that. I know you can just here return the error, but yeah, it's the way I work. And now finally, what I want to do, it's we kind of need to do the same kind of pattern we've done with the create todo, but for the update. So what we're gonna do, it's copy paste this one. I'm gonna paste that at the bottom right there, and I'm gonna change here the name to be update todo payload. I'm gonna just change it this. I'm gonna use U because I just used the first letter. And here it's what a user can update. I want the user to be updated, to be able to update his title, but also the completed value with a boolean. The only issue also after that, it's those things. I don't care if the user don't provide it. If he don't provide a title or he don't provide a complete. So what we want is the pointer, okay? Now here, the difference with what we have before, it's now we need to check if the u dot title is not an empty string. What I mean by that, it's inside Go, they default the value if they are not provided. So yeah, I mean, it just here I want to make sure that at least the user did update his title. If he's updated his title, now I'm gonna check. I'm gonna do a validation and check if the title is much longer. Now the issue is here if you get invalid operation mismatch type pointer string to a string. So this way, if you do this like that, you're gonna get the value and not just the pointer. So now you can check for that. So here is the only thing we need to check for this one, because the complete, you're gonna see what I mean by that. We don't need to do a validation about it because it's gonna be either a nil or a boolean. And now after that, I'm gonna create another method to my domain called update todo. This one gonna receive a todo, a pointer to a todo, and a payload who's gonna be this update todo payload. This thing gonna also return a pointer to a todo and an error. Remember, this domain don't really need to follow this interface. This interface touch the database, not the domain. So here, this is where all the logic gonna happen. So now here what we do, it's first, we want to check if the value from the title, and I use here the pointer like that because I want to receive the value. And I want to check if it's not an empty string. And why I do this? It's because here I want to update the todo, because here that's going to be the todo I want to update. So I'm going to say todo the title is going to be equal to the value of this payload, the title. So if it's not an empty string, so that means if it was set, we do this. After that, if payload that complete who can be nil, and we check if it's not nil, so that means if the user did put false or true, the todo.complete is going to be equal to his value payload.complete. After that, I want to get back a todo or an error from my function db.todo repo.update. So I'm gonna pass now the new version of the to-do. And now here, if I have an error, we return nil or the error, else we return the to-do or nil. Now the thing is, if you remember, inside our struct we have this updated app. I want to update that. So how are we gonna do this? I mean, I'm gonna create here a function called didUpdate. Not a function, but a boolean, didUpdate. And finally, if he enter inside one of those two if statements, didUpdate gonna become now true. So if didUpdate become true, I'm gonna say to do that updated at equal now time that now, so that means right now. Pretty simple stuff here. I hope you understand what I do here. I mean, it's just kind of like really the flow. So here, what we need to understand is when I'm getting here. So when I'm getting this update to do, we have already validated the payload title if it was there to have at least a length of 3 because of this validation right there. Now here we just check then if we have really a title. So if the user didn't just send like an empty object, or just like he did just update is complete. Okay. Now, I think we're gonna jump in the Postgres layer. Now, if we go there, you see we just lost our finally our repo. To-do repo don't follow anymore the interface to-do repo. If you see here, if I click on the user, we know then we follow this user repo, but not anymore. Because remember what happened is we did add those 3 functions, and now our to-do Postgres don't follow all the interface. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just re-implement the interface. Okay, so they're gonna just add for me those 3 functions. And what I'm gonna do now, it's really, you're gonna see it's so simple, those logic. So the get by ID, what I'm gonna do, it's first I want to create a pointer to a to-do, okay? For me, I don't know why, but this is the way I like to work with this. I make use of the new. And the new return new finally like the kind of the pointer of whatever you pass to it. After that here, I'm gonna check if we have an error inside t.db. And now remember we touch now Postgres. So model, we pass it the to-do. And now here, it's a get by ID. So here when you pass it the model, they're gonna kind of inject all the value you're gonna get back from Postgres. And now we need to do a where. So where the ID equal, and now here I can pass the ID. So you see ID equal question mark ID, so they're gonna inject that inside the SQL. And I want to just get the first element. If we have an error, again, this thing is something we're gonna change maybe later. We want to return that, else return a to-do and an error. That's it, we done the get by ID. Update. So the way update work, it's you still use the model, you pass it back now the to-do, but now also you need a where. So the where is going to be the same thing, but now that's going to come from the to-do ID. We also want to return everything from the table, and we call update. If we have an error, we return nil and an error, else we return the to-do and nil. Like that. So yeah, I mean, I don't really know what I can say more, but it's just this Go PG stuff. So finally you just push up your model, so they're gonna kind of put all the new stuff from this returning here. You just say which condition that's gonna be for the updating, and you call a function update. So because this to do at this point have everything we want to update, it's gonna be inject right there. And for the delete, is the much simpler one. T.db delete, you pass it whatever you have. Again, same stuff, just because maybe later you want to put logs. Perfect. So you see, was a really simple stuff, and they're supposed to be simple as that. This data layer kind of just get whatever you have from the domain. So if I swap that from to MongoDB, that's not gonna be painful because the logic is not inside the model, inside this layer. Now, this is where the fun's gonna start. How are we gonna manage all the handler? So what I'm gonna do, it's, if you remember inside the endpoint, we can use middleware, okay? And I love middleware. I think middleware makes so much sense. And I've done some Laravel and other stuff like that. And one of the thing I was liking is the fact that when you get to your controller, you do get access to whatever you have kind of get from the ID. What I mean by that, it's here. I'm gonna create a new route where I'm gonna have an ID of finally a dynamic ID, and finally everything's gonna be there. It's gonna be the current to do. We want to do something with this. So if I'm gonna have a function update or delete, that's gonna be always the to do from that. So what I want to do is create a middleware. We're gonna take this ID, get the to do from the database, put that inside the context, and now gonna make the life easier. We're gonna just receive the to do from the context. That's it. And you're gonna see what I mean in 1 sec. So here I'm gonna create another method to the server. It's gonna be called to do context. Okay, this one is gonna be just a middleware. So basic middleware stuff. Handler func. Like that. Okay. Now, first thing, I'm gonna create a pointer to do. After that, I'm gonna check if we have a to-do ID inside chai URL param. So chai gave us finally this function, return the URL parameter from an HTTP request object. So finally what I meant, it's you pass it the request and you say which params you want to get. And the param we did say in the endpoint was this ID. So ID. After that, here I'm gonna do a single line check. What I mean by that is I'm gonna check if the to-do ID it's not an empty string. And why I do this is because I want my ID to become a int64, because if you remember, we always check int64. So what we need to do, it's now we need to convert this string, because at this moment it's a string conv, and you see parse in right there gonna give us an int64 or an error. So this is really what we want. So here now I'm gonna pass it the string. So, and that's why I did check this empty string. I don't want to pass at this point an empty string to this parse in. And finally, this bait and bit size, I'm really bad in that. I use 00 in that word. Maybe it's not perfect, but yeah. So if we have an error, I'm gonna send a bad request, where I'm gonna just send the response writer, and I'm gonna return. That's it. So that means finally, if I wasn't able to parse this ID, so maybe someone did put an ID like hello world, but it's supposed to be a number. So after that here, I'm gonna get my to-do from my domain. Remember now, this S, so this server have access to the domain, can call get to-do by ID and pass it the ID we just did parse. After that here, what I want to do is if we have an error, if error is not nil, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just do a JSON response W, and I'm gonna just as the response, that's gonna be a map of string, that's gonna be error, and for my error that's gonna be domain error no result error string we pass the response, and here that's gonna be not fun. And status not fun. Okay, and I'm return. So if I have an error, this is what I say. After that here, so if I have an error, perfect, can, yep. After that, here I'm gonna inject to my context. So context with value, or that context, to do. So the key I want to be able to use is this to do. And finally, we're gonna serve the middleware, the next kind of next step with this new context. That's it. So now this to do context can be added to whatever we're gonna have right there. Like that. Perfect. Now, to make our life easier, inside the handler, you remember we did get this function current user from context. I'm gonna create the same function right there for the to do. So I'm gonna just change here. Each time we see current user to be a to do, and each time we see user, we update that for to do. To do from context. Make our life easier to get the to do. And remember this one, just get the to do from the context and kind of I'm really bad in this naming stuff here, but it's kind of like here it's gonna be, if you look here, it's gonna be an empty interface, okay? But we know which type that's gonna be, so we kind of like, we want this empty interface to interfere and become like this pointer to a to do. Okay, so now time to create those functions. So here we have create to do. We're gonna start really with the delete to do. Delete to do. Simple one. HTTP that handler func. Return a func. Writer or like that. And now, so easy. We get the to do from the as the to do from context. We pass it the R. After that, we get an error from the as that domain dot delete to do. We pass it the to do we get. If we have an error, we're gonna say bad request WR error. Gonna return else JSON response W nil and HTTP status no content 204. That's it. And you see how simple this to do from context. So here I don't need to parse this to do ID each time. This to do is gonna be injected inside my context, and at this point I can get it, and I'm not gonna have an issue when I'm gonna get there, because I know this to do context is gonna have done his job about finding this to do. So if I'm getting there, that means the ID was good and a to do with this ID exists. After that, here I'm gonna create a function, another method, update to do. But this one, what I'm gonna do just to win some time, it's gonna be almost like this create to do, okay? The difference is the payload is gonna be update to do payload. And the function, here I don't care about the current user. Maybe now you ask, oh, but how are you gonna be able to do a validation about, hey, do this to do is belong to this user, do this user is the owner of this to do? Don't worry, middleware to the rescue. We're gonna see that in a moment. Here we're gonna update the to do. The first thing we need to do for updating the to do is getting the to do from the context, and we pass it the payload finally. And we don't want status create, we want status okay. That's it. So look at our kind of controller route, how simple they are. Everything is injected from the domain. Now, okay, how can we do I think I'm gonna just show you what happened right now, and after that we're gonna see it. I'm gonna call Ara.patch for the update to do, and R.delete for the S.delete to do. I'm gonna start my server, okay? So if we look at Postico, I have walk the dog, walk the cat. Can I just duplicate current tab? Okay, yeah, because I want to keep my authorization. And here what I'm gonna do now, it's a delete. I want to delete. First thing, we're gonna try to delete a to-do who don't exist. I'm getting no result, 404, that's perfect. We have no to-do with this ID number 9. So what that meant then our with this to-do context word, because in this one we did check if we can get a to-do. Now I'm gonna try to delete a to-do we have. So walk the dog number 1. We get no content 204. If I came back, you see, now it worked. I can delete my walk the cat. Perfect, now it worked. And now if I try again, no result, that's perfect. Now inside my post, I'm gonna create some other one. Don't forget to re-put the authorization, walk the cat, walk the dog, and a dot, and fish. So you see here we have those 3. Now I'm gonna try something. I'm gonna register a new user. So I'm gonna make use of register user right there. Really? I'm pretty sure I can. I was able before. It's okay. So I'm gonna just redo this. So register user. So that was user register. That was a post request, and we get a body with a raw JSON. Where here we have username John, email johnsnow.gmail, password, and confirm password. Why I do this is just because I want to get another user ID, okay? So just to make sure we have here 2 user, 2 and 1. Remember, right now we are Bob. I'm gonna change this walk the fish to become below to the user number 2, okay? So right now, if I try to delete, so it's ID 5. If I try to delete it from user number 1 and I click, boom, I just delete finally the to-do from the other user, and that's really wrong. This is not what we want. So the way for me I've done it, it's I kind of want to make a function generic, but we don't have generic in Go. So what I've done, it's I've created an interface called add owner. It's an interface. And this one's gonna have one simple function who's gonna have we're gonna receive a user and gonna return a boolean. That's it. So this interface here gonna become kind of our generic way of checking if the to-do or whatever other thing you're gonna have. Example that can become like a post, a blog post, whatever you have. So now inside my domain, what I'm gonna do at the bottom, I'm gonna my domain to do. I'm gonna add a method to my to do called isOwner. We're gonna receive a user and we return a boolean. So now you see right there, I follow this interface. That's the beauty of Go. To follow an interface, you just need to follow the function or whatever value from the interface. You don't need to call like implements or whatever you need. Now here, real simple. Inside that, I'm gonna have access to the user ID, and I just check if it's equal to the user ID. So this thing gonna return a boolean. That's it. Now, what I'm gonna do, I told you I really like middleware. So inside my handler, here I'm gonna create another middleware, okay? But now the thing is, this middleware need to be smarter than other middleware. What I mean by that, it's inside the other, if we look at the endpoint, it's always just like those are a function, and the function is being called with the use. And you see, I cannot pass an argument, because if I start to pass an argument here, I need to pass the next. It's like what we do in JavaScript when we have a callback, and you can just pass the function without calling it, because the function, the callback is going to be called inside the function himself. So now what I'm going to do is we're going to kind of create like a higher order function. So here, I didn't find any good name yet. I call that subject string, a subject type who's going to be a string. Here I'm going to pass, hey, give me a to-do, give me a blog post, give me whatever. And this thing subject type is going to be whatever we have in the key when we call the context. After that, here, what we want to return from here, it's another function who going to return, who's finally going to receive the middleware. And going to return an HTTP handler. So now I'm going to create this anonymous function. We're going to return this HTTP handler func. Handler func. To be response writer, pointer to the request. That's it. So now, what are we gonna do? It's now, here, first thing, I'm gonna get the current user from the current user from context. After that, I'm gonna get the subject from the earth context dot value subject type. So you know, like when you do current user from context, we do earth context dot value with the key, and we kind of interfere that with whatever we want. Now, here, the difference, it's we're gonna interfere that to a domain that have owner. So here, what that meant, it's at least the function at this point, we know gonna have this function is owner. So now we can check if the subject is owner, we pass the current user. So if it's not, remember I did put the bank. So if it's not the user, I want to have a new response called forbidden response. And this one, we're gonna have forbidden and forbidden. Forbidden kind of meant like you have no, you cannot do this. So return, and if everything is work, we just serve the HTTP, but we don't need to change the context. So now this with owner gonna go inside our endpoint and just below the to do context. So that use as that with owner. And now we need here to pass the subject type. We're gonna say to do. That's it. And now here you're gonna have like our other function, whatever, like you see. It's really hard to explain, like I'm really bad for that, but this is how that works. The only issue you have with this kind of method is you need to have this to-do context first, because that's going to be the one who's going to inject inside the context this to-do. That's it. Now just by doing this and restarting my server, if I go back to Postman, and now I change this walk the dot for 2, the user number 2, and that was ID number 4. If I go there and I click send, I get forbidden. I cannot delete it. It's not my to do. But here you see walk the cat 3, user ID 1. I'm supposed to be able to delete it. No content. Perfect. Now it's delete. Now we are able to delete. So first thing I'm gonna create walk the burn, walk the cow. Yeah. So must be a farmer. So so here we are able to delete. Are we able to update? So it's a patch. And inside the JSON, I'm gonna try to update. We're gonna try with the one not supposed to work. Number 4. Number 4, remember, is user Jon Snow and it's not us. Forbidden, same issue. But are we able to update walk the fish? 6. So I'm gonna say walk the dog. No. if I click send, boom, what I get back, title walk the dog, complete false, the updated ad. It's pretty hard to see it, but if you see really, you see it's not the same date. Like it's 0901 and now 41. So it was 40 seconds after that. Now you see, it's now number 6, it's walk the dog. But oh, what happened here? Complete, it's null. So now, complete is null. What that meant, it's, yeah, I can say completed false, I can say completed true. So now you see completed true is right there. But look what happened if I say completed false. It's still false here. It's null. What happened now? It's go PG. We don't like it. Go PG kind of transform this. And we don't like it. So the way to fix it, it's really simple. It's here. We just need to say to go PG. So PG, no comma, PG. We want to let you, so comma, use 0. So use the 0 value because false is falsy, and yeah. So now if I put false and I click send again, nothing has changed here. The only issue is now, you see, it's false. Now we are able to get the fault. So you see, I'm not obligated to have a title. I can say complete true. And now walk the dog, complete true. Walk the dog, true. I can also just update the title. Make food. Make food, still complete true, and make food. But you see, at least this date is updated at always update, because remember what we did? We did check with this date update if that was updating one time or not. Hope you enjoy, and we're gonna talk in the next one where we're gonna finish with the logging. So have a good day everyone. Bye.